Shalom in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach. Peace in the name of Yeshua the Messiah. In this video I'm going to give you the reasons why I have nothing to do with Christmas, and I'm going to just show you why that is, and I'm going to really encourage anyone who claims to follow the scriptures that you do likewise, and that you stay as far away from this holiday, this festival, as you can. Now, the first most obvious reason is because we are not told to celebrate Christmas anywhere in the entirety of the scriptures. We're not told to celebrate the birth of Yeshua. We're not told to make any special festival at any time of the year to make a celebration of this thing. Now, it just shows how unbiblical and unscriptural Christianity is, both Protestant and Roman Catholic and Eastern Orthodox, when probably the biggest festival in this religion is not given in the book that they claim to be following. So we're not told to celebrate Christmas. Yahweh never said celebrate Christmas. Yahweh never said celebrate the birth of my son. Yeshua himself never said celebrate my birth every year from year to year. So that's the first most obvious reason, and in this video I'm going to focus on the clearest reason, which is this. Deuteronomy chapter 12 verse 29 reads, "When Yahweh your God cuts off from before you the nations whom you go in to dispossess, and you dispossess them and dwell in their land, take care that you be not ensnared or trapped or led away to follow them after they have been destroyed before you, and that you do not inquire about their gods, saying, how did these nations serve their gods, that I also may do the same? You shall not worship Yahweh your God in that way. For every abominable thing that Yahweh hates they have done for their gods, for they even burn their sons and their daughters in the fire to their gods." So Yahweh says, don't study the religion of the pagans, basically. Don't study the religious ways of these heathen nations who you're going to destroy. Don't look at how they worship their gods, and most certainly don't worship Yahweh using these pagan ways. Christmas is based almost entirely on pagan religion, as I will now show you. This is common knowledge by, just put in Christmas and pagan or roots of Christmas into Google, and you'll have lots and lots of reading materials to back this up. Now, this is a Wikipedia article, and it's about something called the winter solstice. We know that Christmas developed most strongly in Europe, particularly in Northern Europe, and this practice came out of something called winter solstice. And let's just have a quick read of winter solstice. It says, winter solstice, also known as midwinter, occurs around December 21st or 22nd each year in the northern hemisphere, and June the 20th or June the 21st in the southern hemisphere. It occurs on the shortest day or longest night of the year, sometimes said to astronomically mark the beginning or middle of a hemisphere's winter. The word solstice derives from Latin winter solstice, meaning sun set still in winter. Worldwide, interpretation of the event varies from culture to culture, but most hold a recognition of rebirth, involving festivals, gatherings, rituals, or other celebrations. So what the winter solstice involved a celebration of the fact that the sun was being reborn in the minds of these pagans, because the sun had been, there'd been less and less and less sun for the previous weeks and months, culminating on this day, which was the shortest day of the year. And they would celebrate that day because the next day the sun would be shining in greater amount, and slowly but surely the sun would, spring would come up. But they would celebrate the rebirth of the sun, or as they called it in Latin, Sol Invictus. What's that got to do with anything? Well, let's look at this this article. It's got various. It speaks about all the different, pagan festivals all around the world that they would celebrate. The winter solstice. But we're going to look at the section here on Christmas, Natalis Domini, which means birth of the Lord. Now, let's have a look. The birth of Jesus, they're talking about, Yeshua, is observed on December the 25th, what was the winter solstice upon the establishment of the Julian calendar in 45 BC. So see, December the 25th, that date is straight from the pagans, because that was the winter solstice date. So even the very date of Christmas it comes from paganism, pagan religions. And the early Christians knew this. Look at this. Banned by the Catholic Church in its infancy as a pagan or non-Christian practice stemming out of the Sol Invictus celebrations. Now, isn't that interesting? Even the Catholics early on were opposed to the idea of Christmas, and they banned it because they understood that it was a pagan religion, it was a pagan practice. But unfortunately, they learned the ways of the pagans. Christians always seem to want to learn the ways of the pagans, and eventually Christmas was incorporated into this religion called Christianity. And we read here, Christians revitalized its recognition as an authentic Christian festival in various cultures within the past several hundred years, preserving much of the folklore and traditions of local pagan festivals. Remember, Yahweh says, you shall not worship Yahweh in the ways of the pagans. But the Christians, they decided to incorporate the pagan ways to do with the winter solstice into their Christmas or Christ Mass holiday. So today, the old festivals such as Yule, sound familiar? Koneda and Karaksoni are still celebrated in many parts of Europe, but the Christian nativity, in other words Christmas, is now often representational of the meaning. This is why Yule and Christmas are considered interchangeable in Anglo-Christendom. What this is telling us, what this is showing us, is that at its very core, the roots, the bare roots, the basic roots of Christmas are derived from paganism, from European paganism. Do not learn the ways of the pagans, says the scriptures. Now, there's an very interesting passage in Jeremiah 10, which possibly shows us how the roots of Christmas go back even further than these European winter solstice festivals. If we look at Jeremiah chapter 10, it says, Hear the word that Yahweh speaks to you, O house of Israel. Thus says Yahweh, Learn not the ways of the nations, nor be dismayed at the signs of the heavens, because the nations are dismayed at them. So see, learn not the ways of the nations, again, just reiterating Moses. We know Moses is the root of all of the prophets. So Jeremiah here is just amplifying and repeating that. But look at this custom of the pagans that he specifically mentions. He says, the customs of the peoples are vanity. A tree from the forest is cut down and worked with an axe by the hands of a craftsman. They decorate it with silver and gold. They fasten it with hammer and nails so that it cannot move. Guys, doesn't that sound like the Christmas tree? It seems to me that this may well be, one of the roots from which this whole idea of building Christmas trees comes from the pagans, from the Babylonians of the ancient Near East thousands of years ago. Now, the point is basically this. Christmas, the date of Christmas, the customs of Christmas are clearly pagan in their origin. And the scriptures tell us, do not learn the ways of the pagans, and certainly do not worship Yahweh using the ways of the pagans. This is why I do not celebrate Christmas, and this is why I suggest that anybody who claims to be a follower of the one true God, Yahweh, and his Messiah, Yeshua, this is why I suggest that you too get as far away from Christmas as you can.